biz pro, so we roll. Using procurement, program and control. As a small biz pro, so we grow. Using procurement, program and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Coach Gilbert Buchanan, your small business paramedic. And folks, happy Black History Month. And we would like to extend it through all year. But, if the powers to be will let us, then we'll extend it.
Well, actually, we don't have to wait for the powers to be. Damn them. We will be having 365 days, and we're going to add on another 360 for 6 days during the leap year and talk about black folks every single day of the week, and they can go and fly a kite if they don't like it.
We're going to talk about blackity black, and they can't do
blackity black people all the time. Those pieces of crap, if they can't get with it, they need to get over it. And that's all I got to say. I mean, but we had a great day today. This is the last day of Black History Month. We were celebrating that with GLAC this morning, the Greater Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. And it was great. Got to see a lot of people, a lot of our students and business owners and other leaders and stakeholders in the community. It was a nice, joyful time. And we had a Senator Smallwood. She spoke about how we have to resist and how we have to rise up and how we have to fight for this democracy, which is being invaded by fascists. So it was really, really an amazing day today.
Oh yeah, definitely. So many people were there. We had one of the board chair of the LAEDC, LA Economic Development Corporation. He was there as well in support of the event, and he spoke a little bit about trying to make more opportunities available for folks in the community, and that's really a good thing, because a lot of folks may have heard about LAEDC but never really know what they did. So it's good that he came forward and spoke a little bit so people understand what LAEDC is all about, which is an economic development arm within the county. And they receive funds from a lot of different sources, from businesses, some from government, and their job is to help to get companies settled here in LA County, grow, prosper, or move companies here so they can provide employment for folks. So it was a good thing. The event was about helping to grow blackness in our community, just like it was after slavery, 1865. Folks weren't sure what they needed to do then. So a lot of blacks galvanized, got together, form committees, and start helping each other start their businesses so they can help folks. So that's kind of what this event was about today. In celebration of Black History Month, folks, folks were asked to identify certain skills that they possess and certain resources that they can pull those resources and help other Black community members and entrepreneurs so that they can prosper. So I thought that was a good thing.
Yes, it was. And last night I went to the Los Angeles Urban League's Black History event, and they actually we talked about businesses really scaling up and being able to find opportunities, and which is what the Urban League does as well. We too had some people from the SBA that were there to talk about the disaster recovery for those businesses and families that lost so much during the fire that took place at Eaton a couple weeks ago. For those of you, just a reminder, there was a major fire that burned many acres here in Los Angeles, in the Palisades, Pacific Palisades, as well as Altadena. They call that the Eden fire, and so now we're in the recovery mode. So we talked about that, and we talked about making sure, just like Glock, that the people that are going to be doing the work should look like the people that live in those communities. And so that means there's a push that we have to do to ensure that, because as usual, you're getting a whole lot of gaslighting going on.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure this is our community, and our people and our business owners that have the capacity to fulfill and help do the cleanup should be able to be allowed to, and people outside of our community shouldn't be the first people to be called. So we are far more than capable to take care of ourselves. Ain't nothing wrong with us and our hands and our heads and our feet and in our brains. So
Right.
just whether or not they want to give them the opportunity or not. That's what it's all about. So that's what we talked about, and then we highlighted a number of the businesses that have been pretty successful coming through some of the programs. So we're excited that I am happy. I don't know about you, Gilbert, but I'm usually on my chair, my preacher stand about rising up, because I am not one that can sit down and wait for the tragedies to come and
You're
the
right.
chaos to come to me. So I need to be ready for battle beforehand. So I have been talking about that, and so from both places I got that it's time. We have to fight for our community, and we have to build our community so we're self sustainable,
Hmm.
and that we don't need outside resources in order to survive. We can do that. So that's
I
what we
agree.
need to
I
do.
agree with you, co-host.
Yes,
Otherwise, we're going to get stepped over, and then they're going to help the other groups and not us. I mean, we see what happened with government contracts. We see what happened with resources. We see what happened with hiring. They usually we're the last to either be considered for hiring or contracts or any opportunities, loan funding, lines of credit, those types of things. They're quick to give it to other groups. So yeah, we gotta start standing up and say, hey, we're not gonna wait for this train anymore. We're gonna just create our own train and drive it wherever we want it to go, so we can
that's
we
how
can
I feel, man. You don't want to
destination.
go. You don't want to go in my direction. Then, damn it, I don't need you to go in my direction. I take myself in my own direction. That's how I feel about life.
That's right,
um,
man.
Yeah, I don't need nobody to tell me how to move. So yeah, so that was a good part about that. And then we come home, and I was just sharing with Gilbert, and I'm sure everyone has seen it already. If you were already home, the embarrassing conversation between the president of the United States and the president of Ukraine,
Ukraine.
and the president of the United States just was a bumbling idiot, and I am saying that, a bumbling idiot that disrespected the president of Ukraine because he wouldn't bow down to him to give him what he wanted. And
I've
so
never seen anything like
it,
that.
it, it it's the most embarrassing thing in American history. It's sad that this is where we are today. It's just sad that the our forefathers, our ancestors worked hard to make this country the country that it is, and we allow somebody that does not deserve to be the president of the United States, because he's at war with the people of the United States and then all the rest of the people in the world as well. It appears.
Yeah.
So we want to give we are so sorry, President Zelensky. His opinions do not reflect the entire country,
Right.
and so that's what we have to say. It's embarrassing. It's just, everybody is saying that. It's just embarrassing. We have never in no time that this country has been a country have we ever seen the disgusting behavior or the people that are supposed to be in leadership. It's just beyond.
This is our heartfelt apologies to the president of the Ukraine, for that poor behavior by our president to him. That reminded me, co-host, many years ago, I was invited, or I want to say I was recommended for a
Mhm.
job in Florida,
Mhm.
and I think it was in Daytona. And when I got there, it was a panel interview. I don't know if you ever did any panel interviews before, but
Yeah.
it was a panel interview with about 8 to 10 people interviewing me. And
Okay.
I guess they had a candidate in mind that they wanted to give the job to,
Mhm.
but they had to really make me look horrible so that I wouldn't be considered, and then they could bring in their candidate.
Oh
So they were
wow.
asking me all these questions in the interview. How did you hear about the job? What makes you qualify for this job? What do you know about Florida? What do you know about Daytona? Do you really know anything about economic development? That's my background. And then they start looking at my resume and they start picking it apart, and they just look at this resume. Did you even do this resume? Are you even as qualified as what's on this resume? Uh, did someone do this resume for you? I
Oh
teach
my
resume.
God.
I teach resume writing, right? And the resumes that I've taught people to write, they've used those. They receive a lot of compliments on those from organizations. They use those to get jobs. So
Right.
we know what we're doing. When a company in Mississippi, when they laid off 812 of their workers and
Mhm.
decide to leave and go to Mexico, they brought me in to retrain those folks, resume writing, interviewing techniques, all of that. So if I didn't know what I was doing, they wouldn't hire me over there. They gave me a lot of money too.
Wow.
But this company in Florida, I think it was an economic development agency or something like that. Man,
Wow.
they criticize me. They criticize my resume. They go, what makes you think the people in Florida want you here? I'm going, oh my God. These people are horrible, man. So they try to do everything, they wouldn't even shake my hand when I first
Oh
arrived.
my God.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
that
would.
was like the worst interview of all times. I
It
don't think
was
I've
the
ever been to
worst.
one like that.
So that reminds me of what happened today with the president of the United States and the president of the Ukraine, because they're all were criticizing him. Why, why when you, why when we see you, you're not wearing a suit? What
I
is that
mean,
about?
and basically telling him you owe us because that's and he and the person that is sitting in as our president, which we are completely embarrassed by, said to him, that stupid president before me. Now, what president
That's what he said.
yeah, that stupid president before me gave you hundreds of thousands of
I
dollars,
heard him
millions of.
say that, but I couldn't figure out who he was referring to.
That's what he was saying.
Oh my lord!
Yes, that's what he was saying, and just disgusting. It's just disgusting. So anyway, that is what was going on before we got here. I have a quote at the bottom. A true leader earns respect by respecting others. Understanding leadership is not about power over people, but empowering them.
Yeah.
And to this date, as of January, since January 20th, this man has not shown any respect to anybody.
Hmm.
Um, Man, beast, animal, whatever. He doesn't even know that the word, the definition of respect, and he really should not be ever in his should have never been in any position of power because he knows nothing about leadership. He only knows how to threaten and bully people, and it's disgusting. and I have said it. So there.
That's not what Black history is about, man. And uh, well, I guess that's what it was about
That
before.
wasn't what it was about. That's why
We
we.
recognize it.
That's why there was a civil war.
But
That's what it was
that
about.
was so horrible, man. I felt very bad for the president of the Ukraine, because I'm not saying what happened to me was on the same level, but
Oh, but it was, yeah. But I could see, that would have been extremely embarrassing.
embarrassing, and yes,
And if you were a person that who had a fragile self-esteem,
oh man, can you
then
imagine?
that would have been horrible for you,
Yes,
because you would have that would have been broke that would have broken you, which is what they were trying to do, was to
yes.
break you down so that you would never ever you would question your own abilities, and therefore
Mhm.
you would never go out and look for what you knew you were capable of doing. That was the whole
Right.
purpose of that, and that was the exact same thing right there, bullying him to sign documents that he in his heart was the negotiations were not on a level playing field.
Yeah.
It was to harm him and his country and his people, really his people, and to give up minerals and money that value to their country, to this person. And he is just as bad as saying you're going to go into Gaza and turn it into the Riviera. Disrespectful on every ever level. President Zelensky's country, the Ukraine, he is the president and he deserves to be respected. But if you're in the bed with Putin, I guess you can't respect anybody that Putin is out there to get. So there, I was just saying today, and then we'll get on with our presentation. I was saying today, I don't know how many parts of this scavenger hunt that we need to pick up to recognize that this man is completely ingratiated with Putin, and he is not running our country. He is trying to destroy our country on the behest of Putin and of Russia. And so I don't know. These are like, you could be a blind man and no legs or feet and find the pathway to Russia with this man. That's what I got
Bel-
to say.
Believe me, a lot of his people, uh, his supporters and others, they're beginning to see that, because he promised a lot of them that he wouldn't dismantle certain program. He's going to enhance those programs, like the farmers, for example. He promised them, how they'll never lose their farm, they'll never lose opportunities. The first thing he did, got rid of USDA, and a lot of those farmers depend directly on resources coming from that organization, so many of them, they don't know how to run their farms now, because they don't have that funding coming in that used to come in every year. So now they have to lay off people on their farms, get rid of
Mhm.
equipment that they probably got a loan on from the bank that they can't now pay, and it's
Mhm.
just horrible. So a lot of the farmers, they're regretting their vote. A lot of the supporters are regretting their vote, because he's trying to get rid of Medicaid. He's trying to get rid of all these other programs. So yeah, you will see a reckoning happening sooner than later, because people are going to get tired of that.
Yeah, we are tired. It's just disgusting, and just the things, and getting rid of the heads of chiefs that have been in the military and have military experience, and replacing them with disc jockeys
Mm.
from some one horse town. It's crazy.
One
It's just
word down.
you're coming from a one horse town with one stoplight, and you're making them to be the joints of chief. ain't been no the, ain't been nowhere close to the military. In fact, what they've done is found every excuse under the book and bone spurs to keep out of the military. But you are already deciding you better than the people that gave their lives to this country. Well, this needs to stop, man. It needs to stop.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's all
crazy.
we have to say.
That's crazy.
All right, guys. Now now that we finished our tantrum, because that was our own little tantrum. Um, I've always bullying just sits in a place in the pit of my stomach that just makes me want to. It just makes me burn fire. Is what it does when
Right.
people are bullying other people, and especially when they're in vulnerable situations. It just is disgusting to me. So I just have a real problem with that. But today we're going to talk about trailblazers in the Black community. And our show today is actually in honor of someone very special, to someone that's very special to me. But before we can get to him, I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about the ones that blazed the trail for him. So as we know, as Black people, our people are just incredible. That's all I can say. We have done some amazing things over our lifetime, and as Gilbert just what was mentioned this morning. I mean, we started with nothing. We right out of slavery, we were able to build lives for our family, use the talents and the skills that we had to use on the plantation, and now they took those and they actually created opportunities for themselves to be able to be self-sufficient outside of slavery. And so this month definitely is not long enough to talk about all that Black people have contributed to this country and to the world. Um, but at least it is the love month. I will give it that. Is the Valentine's month when everybody is showing much love for each other. So Black History Month is actually positioned, even though it's the shortest month of the year, but for highlighting. But before that, Gilbert's going to so I want you guys to imagine this, because I think right now the one thing that we have to do as Black people in media, podcasting, or whatever, we have to build up our people to the point that they are ready to fight for what is theirs. And the only way I know how to do that is to show the world our history and what would be missing from this country if we had not been here. And so Gilbert is going to actually show you that video, because for whatever reason YouTube doesn't like to play on my side. So Gilbert, if you go down to the bottom there and hit that share button, and then you will find that if your video is queued up.
So
So just imagine.
we're looking at a world without Black history or any Black contributions.
That's it.
Here we go.
Okay.
I hate having a birthday during Black History Month. Why do I only get a day when they get an entire month?
You're so smart, babe.
You know what we really need? We need a White History Month.
Did someone say that there should be a White History Month?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Let me guess, you're not racist or anything, but you just think it'd be better if we didn't have a Black History Month in America at all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ugh, let's get this over with.
And then Chadwick wins cribbage.
It's Mandy and I. Why are we dressed so lame? And what are those stupid ass shoes? Why is everything so different?
Well, you see, Chad, without Black inventors, our world would have missed out on huge advancements in cell phone technology, gaming consoles, and personal computers. Not to mention important shoemaking techniques, light bulbs that last more than a few days, and delicious, delicious potato chips. A world without Black history is completely different.
Yeah, but all that stuff would have gotten invented anyway.
If all inventions are inevitable, then why celebrate any inventors, Chad?
Wait, where's Grandpa? Grandpa's dead?
Yes. Not only did a Black engineer help invent the pacemaker, but the first successful open heart surgery was done by a Black surgeon, so... But Black history is not just about technology. So, what do you feel like listening to? Classical, Irish step dancing, polka music, an entire crooner station, more classical.
Okay, I see what you're doing here, and just put on Elvis and I'll be good.
Elvis who?
Fine, I walked right into that. Kenny Chesney or something.
Ooh, sorry, dude. Country music has its roots in Black R&B, which means a world without Black history is a world without country music.
No! This place is lame. Where are we?
Times Square, Midtown Manhattan. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, right. There's more like some boring ass town and some shitty little country or some shit.
Pretty much. Not only was most of early New York City built by African slaves, but without Black slaves, the South never developed its labor-intensive cotton and tobacco plantations.
What?
Which means that the North never developed its financial sector or heavy industries meant to support that very same lucrative cotton industry.
What?
It's entirely possible that without the contributions of Black Americans, we wouldn't have the money to have made the Louisiana Purchase from France.
What?
The land deal that expanded America's borders and catapulted it into being one of the world's leading food producers as well as a global leader.
Wait, so you're saying that without Black people, most of this country is owned by France?
It's entirely possible.
No, no, take me back. I want to go back. I want to go back. What month is it?
February.
Specifically.
Black History Month?
Oh, thank God. Happy Black History Month, Grandpa. Happy Black History Month, potato chip. Happy Black History Month, cell phone. Happy Black History Month, hip hop and streetwear apparel. God bless Black History Month.
Black History Month? You just said there should be a white history rule.
Okay. I'm woke now.
This is hilarious.
So there, guys. We are. That is how we starting the show today.
Man, if you've never seen this before, guys, reach out to us. We'll send you the link so you can check it out yourself, or send it to a friend so they too can share in this information. This is great information, co-host. I don't know where you got it, man. What great!
I searched for it, but and it was great. It was animated just appropriately to get the message across that we are more than window dressing in this country.
See, the part that was missing from that also is the fact that there would never be a White House if it wasn't for Black history, because we're the ones who built that.
Would have been a White House. There probably, I believe there are some other monuments that are in the White House that also would not have been there. Actually, as he said, it would be a lot of parts of this country would. Virginia would have been there because none of that would have been there. It would have still been the Indian country that it is, because they came there to Plymouth Rock and Virginia, and they created a country here. But if they didn't have anyone to work the land, then they would not have stayed very long, because they wouldn't have been able to eat. So they would have gone back to Great Britain.
And also, all of those state houses, every state capital, that building that you see was built by the Blacks, because you notice they all look similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
same architect.
They have the Blacks built it. And, they needed some place that stands out that they could say, okay, this is where we're going to have our town hall meetings or conferences or make laws or, whatever it is. So, it's just amazing how they ignore all of those important facts. So thank you.
And that's why we have to be the one to make sure that the constant reminder that we don't just, we built this country, and so it has to be us. They don't want us to know it, and they don't want anybody else to know it, but we want you to know it. So the show today is actually a tribute to my business partner. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, along with Jackie B. For all of those of you that know her. Her uncle was a very prominent attorney in Los Angeles. In fact, he became the very first African-American president of the California Bar. And as we go through the show today, we'll tell you some of the other amazing contributions that he made to the law, to the legal space. And so and then But before we can get to him, we have to get to the first. So the first makes a difference. These are the individuals that blazed trails. They created inventions. They crossed color barriers. They really took all of the guff in order to be that first. They took a lot in order to be that first. And but what they did is they made room. They made the pathway for the second, the third, and then the future that was coming after them. So we want to give those in the legal profession and the justice area. And I'm going to read an excerpt that was written in the LA Sentinel, the Los Angeles Sentinel, in honor of Black History Month, and this was in 2018, I believe, and then that's how we're going to set it off. So each one of these images up here, these pictures, were the first male, female, both attorneys and as well as judges. So let me read this to you, and then we'll get it kicked off. Gilbert, we'll go in with the first guy, but this was a commentary from the Los Angeles Sentinel. Contrary to the words of the Constitution that all men are created equal in the real world, some men may be more equal than others. However, laws are meant to regulate people's behavior and create a level field so that all men are created equal under the law. Oftentimes, men apply the law unevenly, leaving others to execute, interpret it, and modify their misapplications. There is a vast and a distinct difference between natural and man-made laws, rules to govern and live by. Laws meant to protect society are sometimes used against those that they were designed to protect. Laws have been used to enslave, discriminate, oppress, and keep Blacks and others in check, legally and then residentially, in the form of institutional racism. However, throughout the history of this nation, men and women have stood up and have used the law to change society's landscape by forcing Americans to do, as Dr. Martin Luther King exhorted, live up to its creed that all men are created equal. So such is this distinguished group of Black lawyers, men and women, who specialize in all areas of law and are always on call to make the best deal and keep their clients out of trouble. They've scored many legal mountains to reach the legal profession's top, and some because lawyers who became lawyers who make their mark in courtroom settings, and some gravitated to legislation, and others have done both. And so that is what we're talking about today, because we are back here. I mean, the Latino population or immigrants or migrants are being rounded up without due justice of law. They haven't gone to any court to execute their deportation. They've just been rounded up, put in chains, and put on planes to fly them back to their origin countries. Babies are being terrorized outside of their schools. They're going into churches to take people. And Black people have been suffering this abuse since the day of time. And lawyers are important to protect our people from the misabuse and also the misappropriation of the law. And so right now, our law, the Constitution, is in danger. The laws that were written to protect society are in danger. And these laws were written at the time when these individuals that we're going to talk about today actually journeyed to become attorneys. So, Gilbert, you want to get the first one, and then Gilbert? You want to get the first one? So we can keep you wait. Gilbert had to get up very, very early today, guys. So he is barely hanging on.
Oh my Lord, I'm not used to it. So the second one is Charlotte E. Ray.
Well, we actually didn't do the first guy. I didn't do Malcolm.
Oh,
He's the very first licensed black attorney.
let me grab his data real
Okay.
quickly.
So, so this is why this is important, and I thought it was an apropos way to end this month, being that this year began with us having to protect the Constitution, which we kind of knew as a result of this new administration that we have here. But we, as people, are going to have to stand up and fight for our people and fight for to maintain the laws that are here to protect us.
Right. And the thing is, we didn't have anyone to defend us, so that's why these folks were so important, because they came in and they were able to provide the defense that we needed. Otherwise, they would have just thrown us to the dogs and do whatever they wanted to do.
Well, try to figure out how to put us back into slavery so that we could continue to work for free for them.
Yes, that is so true.
That's what that's about.
That is so true. So, so you went over Macon already?
No, I haven't done Macon, so that will give you Macon.
Okay, let me see here. I don't. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what we have here from Macon is, and do you want me to pop it up on the screen?
No, we can just, we don't have to. We can just read it from here.
Okay, so Macon Bowling Allen. He was born in 1816 to 1894. He was considered the first African American attorney to practice law in the United States and to hold a judicial position, where he broke numerous barriers. In his early life, was born in Indiana. Later on, he moved to Maine. He apprenticed under a prominent attorney with anti-slavery views, which is where he first started to take on that type of platform, because he's going, wow, I like this. This person is helping to support the dispossessed and the downtrodden. So he liked that. So but somehow he was denied admission to the main bar because we all know, because of blackness. He was black. So he persevered, and he went on to pass the non-resident bar exam in Maine in 1844. He became a Massachusetts Justice of the Peace in 1847. Now, some folks may not know what a Justice of the Peace is, but because I'm from the Caribbean, and in the Caribbean we have Justice of the Peace. And those are folks who are allowed to sign and endorse documents. They're allowed to provide legal statements and, defend groups, write letters on behalf of groups, and advocate on behalf of groups. So that's what a justice of the peace is. So that's what he became in 1847. He opened the first African American law firm in the United States in Boston with Robert Morris Jr. He then practiced law in South Carolina after the Civil War. So this is after slavery, guys. So, and I don't know if some of you guys know the history of South Carolina, wherein after slavery, blacks were allowed to take on political office and hold certain leadership positions. But then when the whites saw that these blacks were becoming prominent and they're making decisions, they felt like, hey, who are these guys telling us what to do, making this? And these are guys who were cleaning our toilets and our bathrooms, a few weeks ago. Now they're trying to tell us what to do. We ain't gonna have that. So they decided to start burn down houses and dwellings of the blacks, and that's where this gentleman, Macon Bowling Allen, decide to, okay, I want to practice law after this civil rights thing took place. The Civil War took place. He was elected as a judge in South Carolina in 1873, and then again in 1876. So usually back then, the the how should I say this? The time frame that the judge could stay in office would be 3 years. So he did it once and then got reelected as
Mm.
as a judge again in 1876. He practiced law in Washington D.C. after the Reconstruction era, and Macon Bolin Allen, he accomplished. He accomplished these great deeds, which helped him to pave the way for black legal professionals nationwide. His extraordinary journey shattered racial barriers. Of course, that didn't make some feel happy because they're going, "What's this black dude doing? Let's keep our eyes on him. Let's watch him." So,
Right.
so as a result of him being persistent and 10 toes down, staying focused on his mission, he was able to continue to help influence a lot of folks today. So that was an overview on Mr. Macon Bowling Allen,
Right.
attorney and judge.
Attorney at law. And he was the very first one that broke that color barrier. And
Yeah.
so right behind him, of course, was a young lady. And actually I guess she came in behind him, or around the same time. Her name is Charlotte E. Ray and Ray. And she was the first African American female attorney that was licensed. She was the very first black attorney in the U.S. She studied at an institution for education of colored youth in Washington, D.C. And then
Mm,
she went on to teach law at Howard University. And
mm,
upon admission to the District of Columbia's bar in 1872, Ray became the first woman admitted to practice in D.C. And the first black woman licensed to practice law in the United States. But of course, because 1800s, and that would have been before, yeah, that would have been right after slavery.
yeah, that's when women didn't have any rights or
You
anything.
had no rights, right? You had no rights. You couldn't vote. You couldn't do anything. So her career was cut short due to racial prejudice, which was very prevalent at that time. By this point, we were probably in the Jim Crow era.
Mhm.
She did open a law office in the capital, nation's capital, but could not obtain enough customers to sustain her practice, and so she returned to New York City to teach in a public school system. So that is but she was the very first licensed female attorney.
Then gave rise to one of our favorite American attorneys and Supreme Court judge, Thurgood Marshall, who was born in 1908. So that's way after the Reconstruction and all those things going on. So 1990 to 1993, 1908 to 1993. So Thurgood Marshall, again, was one of the first African American justice of the Supreme Court. Uh, he again had to represent a lot of blacks who were unfairly treated. Their houses were burnt down. They were kicked out of certain establishment. People file false claims against them. So he came into this role, and he served from 1967 to 1991. He studied law at Howard University. He served as counsel to the NAACP. 1954, he won the seminal case of Brown versus the Board of Education. That's
Hmm.
the one that really put him on the map there, because they were telling blacks that, hey, You guys are not allowed to learn anything. Who told you can go to school? Why you want to go to school with our kids? Are you crazy? So, Thurgood Marshall decided to represent folks who wanted to send their kids to school, and that's how that went on. So after, and of course, that was the time of segregation. So when he stepped in and decided to launch that case, the board, Brown versus the Board of Education, it kind of put a little pause on racial segregation in the American public school system. But we all know that that wasn't going to stop anything. So in 1967, President Lyndon Johnson nominated Thurgood Marshall to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Oh, that blew a lot of people's mind. What? You're bringing in a black? What is he going to do? He's not going to help. Now, initially, the court's makeup allowed Marshall to be an influential liberal voice on landmark cases. Now, they call it liberal. He was not liberal at all. He just wanted to make sure everyone had an equal say, an equal opportunity to present themselves and be treated fairly. So they call that liberal. So if that's the case, I guess he's liberal.
Yeah.
They call that liberal. So I guess if that's the case, he's liberal, right? So he voiced this landmark case of Roe versus Wade, and also Furman versus Georgia. So those are two of the cases on which he worked, and he lent his decision, which of course folks went crazy about. Now, as Republican presidents appointed 8 consecutive conservative judges, the court took a different tone because, Marshall wanted to be heard. So Marshall later, his tenure was defined more by the dissidents, by his dissidents defending they call liberal principles that he had since been overturned. So what they're saying is what he was presenting was so liberal that no reasonable person would believe that, that's something that they should consider. So they would rule against him, and then the cases that he won, they would try to overturn it. So that was just horrible. And he was just a one man fighting against a nation.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much what happened to Mr. Marshall. He died, later on in 1993, and he passed down a lot of his teaching to other amazing black attorneys who aspired to be judges, such as Johnny Cochrane and others. So
yeah, he kind of set the standard. He really blazed the trail for the modern attorney today that were fighting for civil liberties and civil rights of people. So yeah, he did make some amazing pathways. So then we have our first African American female judge, and her name was Jane Brolin, and she earned her JD a degree at Yale Law School in 1931, where she was also the first African American woman to graduate from Yale. Probably was the very first African American woman.
She was the first woman.
Yeah, to be at Yale, period, and let alone black or white. But yeah, she was the first. But she was definitely the first African American woman to actually graduate from Yale. After passing the bar, the New York City mayor at the time, LaGuardia, appointed Brolin to serve as the judge of the Domestic Relations Court in 1939. During her 40 years on the bench, she achieved 2 significant civil rights reforms. She oversaw the assignment of probation officers in a court system without regard for race or religion. And she also championed a provision that publicly funded yet privately owned child care agencies must accept children without regard to race or ethnic background.
Interesting.
So,
So
and if you listen to some of the stuff that's trying to be removed today, these are the law. These are these are the cases that and the reforms that way back in 1921 they were fighting to maintain and to make sure everyone was treated equal.
Yeah, these are all landmark cases, man, and they're trying to, reverse them now. It's crazy. So then
Exactly.
came our next star performer, Samuel L. Williams, a prominent attorney who distinguished himself as a leader in the legal community. See, that's what I like, Gotta lead this thing. He was prominent in Los Angeles and civic affair, and he was an individual who was committed to social justice and civil rights. He was the first African American to serve as president of the California State Bar. He was a member of the boards of several prominent corporations, was president of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners, and he also served as president of the Los Angeles County Bar Association. He came in to shake business up, and of course they didn't like that, but what could they do? Nothing. So they had to just sit and observe and let things happen. So Mr. Williams was a staff attorney for the Macon Commission and the governor's body of investigating in the 1965 Watts riot in Los Angeles. Several decades later, Mr. Williams was on the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners in April 91, and at the time of the inquest involving the Rodney King beating in Los Angeles. I'm sure most people have heard of that. The only ones who haven't heard about it is, what do you call them? Gen what? Gen Z?
Probably, yeah. Gen Zs may not have heard of it.
They're the ones who probably never heard of it because I guess, they're probably little babies at the time. So. But that Rodney King beating, it set the precedence in this city and within LA County as well. Mr. Williams, Samuel L. Williams, is credited with helping to change the face of the judiciary in California through his role as chair and as member of nominating commissions for judicial selections in the federal branch in the state of California. Mr. Williams' civic contribution included serving on the board of the Walt Disney Company, the Bank of California, the Los Angeles Music Center, USC, and several other organizations. For all this specification about the provision of equality in American legal system, it must be examined for various instances in which it has failed to follow through on those promises to its African American citizens. Since colonial times, African Americans have been the backbone of this country. As we said earlier, we helped to build this thing. Now, we found it, the systems that we helped to build was founded on the backbone of principles of liberty, from which they were expressly excluded for a long time. And my co-host has very close ties with this gentleman, Mr. Samuel L. Williams. So, co-host, you want to chip in there and give some contributions on this gentleman?
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, my business partner or partner in crime with Recycling Black Dollars, this was her uncle. And it's interesting. I mean, I didn't know Jackie at this time, but I was in Los Angeles during the Rodney King beatings
Oh yeah.
and beating, and there was a riot, and I was in LA. I lived in the Valley at the time, but I didn't know Jackie. Um, I didn't know her, but I didn't. We weren't working together because at that time, Mohammed Nazardine, who was the founder and director of Recycling Black Dollars, was running the program, and I just attended meetings, so I didn't know all in depth, and actually did not know this until very recently. Um, I was talking to her about something else, and she says, "Well, my uncle." Samuel L. Williams was and I went, what? And she had never spoken to me of this. But she also has another prominent uncle, and we'll talk about him at a later time. That uncle actually was probably an architect around the same time as Paul Williams, but her uncle was a very prominent. The other uncle was a very prominent attorney. One was attorney and one was an architect. And so she has, and she says they were very handsome and very sought after when they were in college. So this uncle, the attorney, he actually graduated from. He attended. He was an art athlete at UC Berkeley, and he
Mhm.
played on their football team. He was an all academic all star. After he graduated with his BA in 1955, before I was born, he actually went into the military. He was in the Army for a couple years,
Mhm.
and then he received uh, his legal degree from the University of Southern California in law. And from there, he became the deputy attorney general in the state of California's Department of Justice. And then he went into private practice several years later. He died in 1994. But prior to that, he has received his honors were the Maynard Tow Award for lifetime service to the Los Angeles Legal Aid Foundation and the Los Angeles County Bar Association's highest tribute, the Shattuck Price Award, and the state legislation honored him with a memorial resolution for his illustrious record of professional, personal, and public and civic duties. Today, there is a library. UC Santa Barbara has a library dedicated, and he has his papers are all housed at the UC Santa Barbara Library. So this is my business partner's uncle, and I was very impressed. I mean, wow.
That's amazing, man. He was a trailblazer.
He was a trailblazer. So all the attorneys, Johnny Cochran, all of them after these guys, which are, serving in their place to fight for justice for our people. And so I thought it was very appropriate today to give them honor and glory for the end up in this month because of what's going on in our country today.
And this is definitely a moment in Black history, a super moment in Black history.
And some of it's personal to us because we're in the state of California, and personal to me because he is related to my business partner. We were going to have his daughter come on to talk today, but they had a death in the family earlier this week. So maybe at some other time, we will have his daughter come in and talk more about her father and what she remembers from the time growing up with this. It would have been very nice and I could have met him in 1990. I think I did meet both of them at an event we did for RBD. And that was they came to an event, but 1994 because I was with RBD at that point in time. So
Right.
yeah, so I didn't know the rest of them. Never met Thurgood Marshall, but he set the stage. I think he would be up there with Ruth Bader Was it
It-
Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
I think her
RBG.
name is Gangster or something like that.
Yeah, I think when you look back over American history for attorneys that fought for civil rights, or in her case, she fought for women's rights. Those two would probably stick out more than anyone else because of what they did for
You know,
other
you,
people.
you know what I've been thinking about this whole Supreme Court stuff. You
Hmm.
know, if justice is supposed to be blind and
Hmm.
people are supposed to make decisions without personal feelings or personal affiliations, why then do presidents have to nominate those folks who have to share the same belief as a president? Do you see what I'm saying? Because
Well,
many of the judges that were selected, Supreme Court judges that were selected over the last 10 years,
yeah.
many of them, they have to share the same belief as one president or another. Look at Clarence Thomas, he shares a
Hmm.
certain belief. The one that was the drunk that was selected about 7 years ago, you know, he shares certain views, and he's there praising Donald Trump. It's like, come on, man. So I think, and this is my recommendation, and I love people who are listening to this podcast right now to think about it. I think we can use AI robots to act as judges. You see what I'm saying? And we probably won't have a lot of these biased decisions that these current Supreme Court judges and all the judges are making. Because think of it. What they're supposed to do is to take the facts, review the facts, match up the facts against the Constitution and the law, and make a decision based on that. The robots can do that. You feed in that information in the robots and say, okay, this person before you, this is what they did. The law says this, so they break the law because the law said this and this is what they did. So therefore, we need you to render a decision. Robots can do that. They don't need all these high-paid Supreme Court judges and other court judges. You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
my thought.
and I think so the judges are just like any other attorney or any other person representing the law.
Hmm.
You're supposed to work within the law. If the law,
Yes,
whatever, and not interpret the law to mean what you want it to mean. That
right.
was, I think, the forefathers' original theory behind this was: here's the law, and even when you watch court shows, they're going, "Yeah, I know this is not fair, but this is how the law is written," right?
Right.
Until they create new precedents, and then they change that law. But what we have today, and the reason I think they gave them life appointments is because, you know, forefathers obviously pretty naive to think that at some point these justices would be coerced and be able to be bought by someone outside of the system, because as an attorney you take a pledge, or when you see your bar, that you're only going to make decisions that's based upon the law
Hmm.
of the land, right? You're not supposed to be going outside to the colored lines and drawing some other lines on
Right.
the other side of the law.
And
But
come up with exceptions and all of that
and
crazy.
right, and come on, and at that point you're coming up with uh, a law based upon your feelings and your emotions and your connections. And so that's where we have become where we are today, because a corrupt business person that is only looking to maintain all the wealth for himself, and also look for scapegoats to protect him, or to allow him, not protect him, to allow him to break the law. And so the ones that are in there today are those individuals that are no longer practicing or no longer judging based upon the law. They're judging before based upon what they feel and what somebody else has encouraged them or paid them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is, one, there should not be any lifetime appointments. That's
Right.
the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
At best, maybe so that you'll have some continuity between a couple of presidents. Maybe you can serve for 20 years, maybe, or 15 years, right? Because that way you cannot be and if you are to be compromised, then at that point, that is an elimination. You are eliminated because you're no longer operating within the law. I think
Right.
the same thing goes for, and these are some changes, obviously, that would have to come through the Constitution. Senators or political individuals, just like others, should have a mandatory retirement age. They should not be in there till they're 400 years old.
Yeah.
Because at that
I
point,
agree with you. I agree
right?
with
Because if you think about it, I mean, Ruth Bader was fantastic, but she was old as dirt. All of us have grandparents, right?
Right.
When our parents are raising us, they're full of all of their vim and vigor and energy and all that sort of stuff, right? If they have professional lives, they're able to run those professional lives. Then they retire 65, 70, but somewhere about 70, 75, they're not as quick-witted as they were.
Right.
And they don't understand what is currently going on in the world. And so therefore, they're only basing their knowledge on stuff that they've had exposure to. So I think there should be term limits and mandatory retirement. No president should be able, that included Biden. When you start getting old and feeble, if 70 is your old and feeble cutoff, then you have to be forced out. You have to have a mandatory retirement. And because what that does is it prevents bringing in new young blood that have the energy to fight dictators such as the person that we have in the White House right now. And so they just don't have the energy. They're too old.
Yeah.
They're too old, and they need to come out, and that needs to be reformatted, and there should be mandatory age limits for these individuals so that we can bring in new blood that are effective in the world that we're in. And then, Gilbert, as far as what you're saying, for us, the justice in a world where fascism is, when you have a fascist government, then of course, yes, you want everybody to agree with you and do your bidding, because that means now you get to have everything you want. So that's what we're going through right now. And what we're going through right now should not be happening, because we are not, this country was not, it fought a war to prevent having a king and
Right.
having a individual that would be in office for the rest of their lives. This is not what we are looking to do. We are not a country that should be accepting of extreme nationalism, because everybody, even the ones that are screaming that they want make America great again, every last one of those are immigrants. Every last one of them. The only folks that was here before they got here were the Native Americans, and there were black people here. Other than that, everybody is a damn intruder.
We're all migrants.
All them people that are screaming for an America, America great. Each and every one of your parents came from Europe. Every last one of your parents came from really. Your country is Great Britain, or possibly it was Australia, but it was not the United States of America. The only people that can say that is the people that are the American, the originaries, the people that are original of this country. So that's what my opinion is, and they need to go away, because at this point, they are. How can you tell another immigrant not to be here when damn that's how you got here?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
So
ever since I landed, I've kept both my hands in my pocket. I've tried to be safe, not to get out of pocket, not to do anything to break the law, because my goal is to be a law-abiding citizen and just do the things I need to do in order to comply.
to contribute to the country, not take
Yeah,
away from the country. And
right.
so what we're seeing today is those individuals that are taking away. So the president, his family immigrated here from Germany. His wives all immigrated here from somewhere, from the Soviet bloc.
Yes.
The only wife he had that was an American born was the one that Tiffany's mother. So how dare he, how dare you look down on anyone else and kick them out? His wife wasn't legal, and she was here illegally working. Elon and his brother were here illegally working. So how
Right.
you gonna? That's the pot caught in the kettle black, man. I don't know how else you look at that, man. You can't. You gonna throw stones at my glass house, but your house is just as glassy as mine.
Hmm.
So
And they think that nothing will happen to them.
right. So we got a lot of work ahead of ourselves, guys. As Gilbert and I, we work, our practice and our purpose on the planet is to help businesses become business ready so that they can get and scale their businesses and become, take care of their families. But with certain things that are coming into play today, there's going to be some changes to opportunities and set asides that are there purposely uh, to help not just Black people, but anyone that is underserved. So underserved is anybody that fits into that new term DEI, which is really basically the foundation of civil rights. Um, so that is pretty much all we have to say today. Is that we were honoring, because the justice system is so important, as you can see right now. And just before we leave, let me just find out how many lawsuits, and this is how important the law is. So for every crazy executive order the fake president comes up with, there have been, let me see, let me just do my little quick, how many lawsuits against him and Elon, Trump and Elon. So the law is important because you got to have lawsuits for these idiots. So let's see, how many lawsuits have been filed? A day ago, there are 14 active lawsuits right now against the Trump administration. And I think Elon got hit with multiples earlier this week as well. So here you go. There are more than 80 lawsuits against the Trump administration as of today. So that's how important the law is. 14 states sued Doge and blasted Elon for what he's been doing. And then there's two new federal lawsuits that took place a couple of days ago. So the law is important. The law is important, or they would be running over everybody without the law. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today. And we will carry on celebrating our Blackness and our Black history. We will implement it throughout the year, and to highlight other individuals that made some amazing
Accomplishments.
accomplishments and blazed trails and broke barriers so that you and I and our children can be, hey, Greg. um, so
And
our
the attorneys
children,
are making a killing.
yeah, they are. Yeah, because they got all 80 lawsuits, man. I don't know who's paying them, but 80 lawsuits.
Well, I'd love to see some real positive and equitable results. You know,
Me too. Actually, I love to see them get that person out of the White House. That's what I love to see. Court martial him. That's what somebody today on TikTok said, that he is a part of the military because he's the commander in chief, and so you can court martial the military. So he should be court martialed. And before he starts to turn all the judges and all of the military into yes men, which at that point you have Nazi Germany. So
well, let's see how many people are strong enough, brave enough, ethical enough, step forward, do the right thing, and file those paperwork.
exactly. With he got to go too. He's a Putin supporter as well. All of them actually need to be kicked out because they are all treasonous. If you ask me, if you are bowing down to a Russian to Putin and Russia, then you are not the president of the United States. You are an agent or an operative of Russia. So I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. And so no. Um, Gilbert looks business-like today, Greg, because he was dressed up and arrived earlier than me to the Black event. I was surprised when I walked in and saw that he was already sitting down, and I just got there, and I was there at 9:30. I was there at 9:16.
He said, Gilbert looked like a real businessman.
Man. Yeah, he was dressed up in his nice blue suit, and you see his tie and light blue shirt today. He was all dapper today, and then
He said,
rather man.
This was in honor of Black History, man. I have to honor the ones who came before me, and whose shoulders I'm standing on right now. So.
Just for a reminder for everyone, he had the wrong time. Thought it was 2 hours early. Yeah, he said it's a lot earlier, so because he got there earlier than me. Everyone is today was support Black-owned business day, and it was a blackout for all other businesses. So I don't know if you were doing that, but that's what was today was. I actually in the non-spend mode right now, so it was not hard for me not to spend money because I ain't trying to spend no money until I know I got a more secure government. So, but yes, so empower your own businesses. Don't let that be just this one day, 28th day thing. Let's support Black-owned businesses.
365
days. Let's become independent and support our own. And with that, we are going to end the show so Gilbert can go take a nap because he has been up very early today. And I am so proud of him.
Man, it took a lot for me to get up that early.
I know. So kudos to you, business co-host, because I know it was hard. It was hard for me.
Man, I tell you, man. See, I don't do this every day for just anybody, man. I'm doing it for the culture.
For the culture and for Angela. Greg, Greg said he's going to a Black-owned restaurant tonight. Will you enjoy? I am going to water aerobics this evening and my Friday night activity, and then I'm going to come home and eat my Black-owned food from my brother-in-law.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to go get me some Black-owned dinner also.
Yeah, so you go to your Jamaican restaurant and support the islands. All right, everyone. We will see you all next week. Have a great weekend. And next month is Women's History Month. So we will be honoring women.
So we're going to have some women on here talking about their journey, their struggles, their business, and their offerings. So.
Yes, Women's Business Month. So any woman out there that's interested in coming on and being a guest, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. And before we leave, I guess we should say that. So we are asking you guys to go over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. Become a subscriber of the Business Zone, and you will get notifications whenever we go on air. And so there's the
And we'll
subscribe
start
button.
sending you guys certain type of documentation. Just make the request, and like sample documents or templates, of a capability statement or statement of qualifications or something to that. We'll send you guys templates of it so you can see what it is and how to go about doing it for yourself.
Awesome, awesome. And I am kicking out sometime later on this month, I'm kicking off a newsletter for us. So all our shows will be archived there, and any other information we want to disseminate to our business owners. So with that, we are going to sign off. You guys have a great weekend. Be safe out there, be vigilant, and be aware, and practice resistance.
All right. See you guys next time.
As a small biz pro, I saw we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz pro, I saw we grow, using procurement,